The Witch King of Angmar, originally a prince of Númenórean descent, became one of the most feared figures in Middle-earth. His journey from a mortal man to a servant of Sauron began with the granting of one of the 9 rings of power by the Dark Lord. The ring corrupted him, and over time he lost his humanity, becoming a Nazgul, one of the Ringwraiths. As the leader of the Nazgul, he was known only as the Witch King, a name that instilled terror throughout Middle-earth. After the defeat of Sauron at the end of the Second Age and his retreat to the Mount Doom, the Witch King vanished into the shadows, his fate unknown for many years. However, he did not remain idle. The Witch King, loyal to Sauron and desiring power for himself, began plotting the restoration of Sauron's influence in the north. This led him to the creation of his own kingdom in the far north of Middle-earth, Angmar. In the year 1300 of the Third Age, the Witch King established Angmar, a realm located in the desolate frozen wastes of the Forodwaith. This kingdom, ruled by the Witch King from his stronghold of Carn Dûm, became a haven for dark creatures, orcs, trolls, evil men, and other twisted beings who were either born of or corrupted by the Witch King's dark magic. Angmar was not a traditional kingdom. Its power lay not in its wealth or population, but in its overwhelming strength of terror and military might. The Witch King's primary goal was the destruction of the northern kingdom of Arnor, the last remnant of the great Dunedain kingdom, which had once ruled all of Eriador. In particular, the Witch King targeted Arthedain, the most powerful of the 3 divided kingdoms of Arnor, the others being Cardolan and Rudar. The Dunedain were the descendants of the Númenóreans, and the Witch King's hatred for them ran deep, for they stood as a major threat to his growing power in the north. In 1349 of the Third Age, the Witch King began his campaign of conquest against Rudar. With his dark forces, he struck swiftly, overwhelming the kingdom with orcs and evil men from Angmar. Rudar fell, its people driven out or slaughtered, and its lands were overrun by the forces of the Witch King. By 1409 of the Third Age, the Witch King turned his attention to Cardolan, the second kingdom of Arnor. Like Rudar, Cardolan was weak and fractured, unable to withstand the full might of Angmar. The Witch King's armies again decimated the kingdom, leaving behind only ruin. Cardolan was effectively destroyed by the Witch King's forces, leaving only Arthedain as the last remnant of the northern kingdom of Arnor. In 1410 of the Third Age, the Witch King began his final assault on Arthedain. The capital of Arthedain, Fornost, became the Witch King's primary target. The forces of Angmar, numbering in the tens of thousands, surrounded the city, laying siege to it. The battle for Fornost was fierce, but the Witch King's forces were overwhelming. Despite desperate resistance, the people of Arthedain could not hold out forever. Arvedui, the last king of Arthedain, fled with a small group of survivors, hoping to find aid. However, he was unable to escape the Witch King's pursuit, and he perished in the wilderness, his final fate sealed in the icy wastelands of the Ettenmoors. The kingdom of Arthedain, with its last king lost, fell, and Fornost was captured. The Witch King had accomplished his goal. Arnor, the last northern kingdom of Númenórean descent, was now shattered. The Witch King's victory was complete. Angmar stood as the greatest power in the north, and the Witch King's influence seemed unassailable. However, this triumph would not last forever. Despite the fall of Arthedain, the free peoples of Middle-earth began to take notice of the growing threat in the north. By the late Third Age, the forces of Gondor and the elves of Rivendell, along with the remnants of the Dunedain, prepared to strike back. In 1975 of the Third Age, a final alliance was formed between Gondor, the elves, and the Dunedain of Arthedain, led by the sons of Arvedui and Elrond of Rivendell. The resulting battle was fought at Mount Graham, a stronghold of Angmar. The forces of the Witch King fought fiercely, but they were ultimately overwhelmed by the combined armies of the Free Peoples. Carn Dûm, the Witch King's stronghold, was destroyed, and the kingdom of Angmar came to an end. The Witch King, however, was not slain. Though his realm had fallen, he managed to escape, fleeing south to Mordor to continue his service to Sauron. Thus, Angmar was no more, but the Witch King's power was far from gone. He would return, but now, a shadow of his former self. He was still a significant force, but without the kingdom he had built, his influence over the northern lands of Middle-earth was forever diminished.